All right, welcome to this week's What the Heck. We have Ising, and all my friends are since a friend of mine. So there's some exceptions there on this stuff. All right, cool. How's everybody doing?
Good, good.
Acceptable.
All right, I forgot to do the intro question, but it's usually like, you know what? Let's see. What what's the last module you either worked on or used that didn't work? Starting with Ising.
All right. I have a feeling that my black sequencer isn't working. I worked on it like 5 minutes ago, and I had pitch tracking problems. So that's my answer.
It's got pitch track. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
What about you, Steven?
Everything, literally everything I've ever done has broken. The last one was the last one that didn't work. Well, wasn't working was the power supply units from Frequency Central, and I built them. I was scared because they had like big caps in them, and I didn't want them to blow up. But I built them, and it was fine. But then when I plugged in the power supply, I was only getting the negative 12-volt line, and I was furious. And stupidly, it turned out that I was using a DC PSU instead of an AC one. But I knew this. I knew I didn't have to use. I specifically sought out an adapter that said AC on it. However, just because it didn't say DC didn't mean it wasn't DC, and it was. It did have a polarity on it, so I should have known.
Oh, interesting.
So it was one of the sellers on eBay. Where
You're cutting out a bit
then
there.
like was where you buy just AC.
Maybe I'm cutting out. I don't know.
No, it's here as well.
Try lowering your video quality to see if that helps. But I also had loads of issues with the FC UK power supplies for similar reasons. It was the first one I ever built. So yes, like you, the capacitors freaked me out because they're gigantic compared to anything else I'd ever touched. Finding an AC to AC wall wart was near impossible here. I assumed it would be easier anywhere in Europe, but apparently that sucks too there.
An AC to AC ward? Like
Yeah,
how?
you need a 3 to 5 amp wall wart,
Right.
and like Stephen was sort of saying while cutting out, I think was that the eBay seller, like they're like the only places I could find them really were eBay, and they're like kind of questionable. Like I have one that
Mm.
literally fell apart in my hand, and yeah, so that fell apart in my hand. And then when I finally plugged it in the first time, I also only got one light, and I think it was the positive 12 as well, or maybe the plus. It might have been the 5. I'm not sure, but it was because there are two like 7815 and 78. No, it's like 7. I forget. There's two little components that look identical, and I had put them in the wrong spots.
Right.
So that was fun. And luckily, I had extras of those, so it wasn't a problem to fix. But it took me a long time to figure out why it wasn't working. I mean, nothing exploded, which was good.
It's a power supply, so you know now, right?
I mean, every time I plug in a power supply, I'm like super sketched
Mm.
out. Like like with those huge capacitors. Like I've seen plenty of photos and stories of people exploding capacitors by putting them in the wrong way, and they sort of shoot off like a little tiny gun. So every time I plug it in, I'm like leaning back. I've got my safety goggles on, and I like plug it into the wall real quick. Wait for the light to come on. If it doesn't, I unplug it real fast. Like every time with those power supplies, I'm super sketched out.
Yeah, I don't want to touch it. I mean, I know my own level with electronics, and it's pretty poor. So I'm not going anywhere near that.
That worked
You're
okay in
moving
the end.
again. Oh yeah, it works.
Yeah.
I mean, they're good power supplies. My biggest issue is finding like an adequate enough like wall wart, and I still have some more experiments I want to do, but I was sort of in a hurry, so I switched to Meanwell in the meantime. But I found a fish tank AC to AC adapter that I need to like manually wire in, which I'm not looking forward to. But I'm going to try that on the next thing I build with those.
Mm.
But for U.S. people, if anyone wants an
It's kind of like
FCUK
the,
power supply, I will send you one because I've got a few now. What was that,
it's
Steven?
kind of like the video synthesis. It's like the video synthesis circuit bending stuff I've done. I've been doing AC, like they're plugged into the wall, which I should probably not be doing, but I've not killed myself yet, so
Those like some of the video synth stuff I've looked at they feel like of all the sketchy electronics I worked on, they feel like the most, I don't know, punk rock durable. Like they don't give a fuck if you mess them up a little bit, or like they're super cool. Like
yeah.
there's so many cool ones. I haven't touched that yet because I don't have any money left after getting into this stupid hobby.
Yeah. Familiar with that.
I was like, I'm gonna save money on a flight case by making my own. Again, just you're lying to yourself. You could spend $400 on a case and probably spend as much as what I'm
Yeah.
gonna end up spending. Like,
Yeah. I did the math as well when I was trying to look at cases. Maybe in the question that I don't want to do too much myself because I don't have space to do a lot of sort of workshop work. So as soon as you start needing stuff that's cut by other people, then the cost just skyrockets. There's no point in doing it then.
I mean, even doing it yourself, I'm like, oh, I'll get I need a saw. I'll go get a saw and like save some money there. But like, then I can't cut a fucking straight line to save my life. And I tried a new technique. I'd watched some videos this time because I was doing my homework. I'm like, I'm gonna make this case right. It's gonna be snazzy. It's gonna be there's gonna be right angles in places. It's gonna be perfect, right, for me. And they built this entire box. They build the whole box and completely enclose it in, like not build like the lid and the bottom or any of that. You just build a whole box, and they put it on a table saw and cut the box all the way around. And then it splits into a nice lid, and they mate really nicely, right? I fucked that up. So it's like, sort of like I did it wrong. Anyway, so it's not perfect either, but it's better than my previous stuff. Like I did some sanding so I don't get splinters when I'm like playing around. Like this edge won't hurt me theoretically too much. All my other Cosmo boxes will, because it's like bottom grade plywood. Actually, some of it's like outdoor shit, like pile plywood that's rotting, like this stuff. I don't know. Steven, are you still here? I see your eyes moving.
Yeah.
All right, let's
My
talk.
internet is shockingly bad.
Oh, fuck. Well, let's see. Can you set the video like resolution down, or do I have to do that? Let's see. I don't know. I'm gonna try lowering it. Maybe that'll help. All right. All right. The thing about streaming is you need consistent internet, and it sucks. And my internet here is pretty mediocre at best. We have the best we can get until you get to like $300 tiers or something, like business plans. But it works okay. I think we have 10 megabit per second upload limit, something like that.
I'm on like I've got 2 internet connections, and one is terrible.
I
I'm
remember you
going to
talking
try
about that.
tethering on my phone. That might help.
Okay. All right. In the meantime, well, the phone's hooked up now. Now I can talk through this thing. Let's see. Testing, testing. Hello. I'm not even sure I need a filter or anything. This is just like the raw phone output.
Sounds pretty filtered. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's actually. Let me see if this thing works here. Hold on. Testing, testing. Yeah, I need an amp for or like a power source for the bottom bit, but yeah, the other thing does like a robot voices thing, but I'm waiting on an ears module for that to amp it.
Yeah.
Crank that signal. It's pretty cool. It actually sounds quite like a transformer, like an Autobot when I use the bottom mic. It's pretty cool. I don't know why the microphone on phones is the way it is, but whatever.
Well, optimized for the spectrum it's supposed to transmit, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I mean that's all I've been doing is making it. Like I worked on that thing the whole day. Still sucks. But I get to do artwork now on the outside and maybe add a few more handles because it's gonna be heavy. And rollerblade wheels. So yeah, just buy a flight case. Just buy one. Don't make one. It's actually a horrible experience, and I don't recommend it to anyone.
Yeah, I was actually looking at a Eurorack course, like an actual training thing, in the summer, like a 1 week thing.
Oh yeah.
That I'm planning to sign up on. It's both Eurorack and circuit bending and other kind of interesting stuff. It's like.
Is it like building that stuff or like learning how to use it?
It's a bit of everything.
Okay.
It's supposed to be sort of not level specific. So if you already know your Eurorack, it's fine, and if you don't know anything, it's fine as well. But I have to travel there, and I have to bring my stuff. And it's in the summer, and I'm already stressing about it now. But I maybe have some time to fix it. But yeah, I have no idea how I will travel abroad with my current case. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
because one thing is loading it in your car and driving off, right? That's fine. But if you actually have to fly with the stuff, I mean,
yeah, and that's probably why I will never do that. Because it's not like a possible thing for me to load. Like, there's never going to be, even like the more famous YouTube folks with cause like Sam from Look Mum No Computer is not going to do like a US tour because like
no, right,
shipping those is like near impossible at a reasonable cost. So
yeah, I'm thinking a little bit. I mean, I have a couple of options. One is actually figuring out a way to drive there. It's not that far. The other possibility is to pack into the other case I have. I have a Rack Brute, one of the 6U Arturia cases. And let's just do a smaller version of whatever I have now. Maybe without like that hex mix, because that takes a lot of space. And yeah,
I mean,
bringing an external mixer under the arm instead.
That's sort of can't see it. I don't even know where I put it, but that Eurorack case I built is like my attempt to be portable. Like eventually, in 10 years when I've actually filled it out, or like 6 months when I've drained my bank account, whatever happens first. It'll be more portable because it'll be one box instead of like. This whole thing, which isn't, even everything, and all of this shit. So.
I think I've fixed the internet.
Yeah!
Yay!
Finally! Now the internet doesn't suck.
Well kind of.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about travel stuff, but let's see. What did I want to talk about?
Well, you pre-ordered an M8, so that'll be more portable.
Yeah, I did. I pre-ordered an M8. That's the hopefully like a portable sequencer for me / like jack of all trades. Like it's pretty like pretty boss in my opinion. It takes a little longer to compose, I think, but based on the other little things I've tried, like the GB303 and some other trackery stuff, I don't think it's that much different than me like currently. Like I don't play things in, like I'm not like playing the piano to make the sequence. I'm like I push a note and then I sequence it, and then I push another note and then I sequence it, right? Like it's not much different. It's like slightly reverse workflow, and that's fine.
Have you used the LSDJ already?
I haven't yet because I haven't wanted to dish out for the card. I've been like trying to cheap out my way through it, except for the GB303, which caught my eye because it's freaking cool. It's like a GB cart, like it's a Game Boy cart with knobs on it, I guess. So, or
You
potentially.
could always emulate it before the
Yes.
M8 arrives to get used to the workflow, because it's like exactly
Yeah.
the same.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rig up a headless M8, which is pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I think I'm gonna jive with it. Like I have no problems with that type of workflow. It's not that much different than how I use the Pyramid, and I just need to learn some of the syntax, right? Like how some of the questions I asked you pretty much answered solved what I need. Like I think it could be a good portable unit for powering anything. Also, I think the idea of sequencing like a giant Cosmo with like a little handheld is somewhat comical. I enjoy that. Anyway, I'm looking forward to it, particularly as a sampler. And I guess like some of the synth engines are cool too. But the Freak sort of handles that for me currently in terms of needs. I'm really looking forward to the sampler. I'm hoping I could drop in like some oscilloscope music clips and sequence those. Because that's been a huge gap. Like I don't want to do it on my computer because it's annoying, but yeah, it just takes processing. Streaming is already bad enough for me when I'm only doing one thing. But yeah, Bartok has a pretty portable setup. Bartok had this like crazy, huge thing, and has since gone to 2 IntelliGel cases, which works really nice.
Yeah, I've heard good things about that, and they're surprisingly useful when traveling. They're good at packing things down and to fit in the overhead compartments and all that.
Yeah. I want to get back to the like Robbie's got a really good point. Like something's a little contradictory about a Eurorack class. Like
Yeah.
like
No. Yeah, well, it's more like music production in general.
Okay.
Because I feel like I want to talk with some people who are good at producing music and sort of specific to any instrument or genre or anything. Just get some tricks under my sleeve and get some inspiration, basically.
That's cool. Circuit bending will be fun. I have yet to successfully
and
circuit
that's
bend
also a
anything.
thing that I'm looking really forward to, because that's new territory for me.
I mean, you're just breaking stuff. Like you're not.
Yeah. I'm good at breaking stuff, but maybe doing it on purpose would be nice for me.
I think I've only tried a handful of things. Seriously, like pre-pandemic, when you could go to like thrift stores and get like crappy old kids' toys that make sounds and stuff, radios, stuff like that. I found a Yamaha like little beginner piano thing and started circuit bending that. And I had done no Googling of what I should or should not do on that chip, and like I got like a couple things sounding kind of cool, and I was like really grooving and like doing stuff, and then I fried it like 2 seconds later. Like dead, and took it apart for parts, and like let's see, the speakers are here. Things like that. So yeah, I don't know. I have not had luck, and there's no like, I live in a little mountain town now, so like the stuff at the thrift store is like vintage hammer, like old wheel that doesn't work, like that, here's some skis that are old looking, like that kind of stuff, and it's not the same crowd.
I mean, you're halfway there because you've got all those components, because that's partly why I've been able to do a bunch of the video circuit bending stuff is that I bought all those components to build Cosmo modules, and I bought like thousands of capacitors that I clearly don't need. You know, 10,000 pots that won't fit in the panel and shit like that. So,
Oh no.
yeah, because I got the ones that don't screw in, which is great. I was terrified of doing the video stuff because it plugs in at the wall, like
Yeah.
the AC power thing. But I've kind of gone fuck it, and I've been avoiding I avoid the transformer. And I guess I've blown up a couple of things, but I've not, electrocuted myself yet.
That's great. Like I watched one of your video circuit bending things where you had this like rack mount video thing that you added a bunch of stuff to and like cut the board in half, and that was a mistake because then the pots didn't go.
Yeah, that fiberglass dust that came off of that. Fucking
oh my
hell,
God,
that was worse than COVID.
shit.
I was like
and you know
sawing it
what?
with a hacksaw, and then I was like, "Oh, what the fuck is this?" It was terrible.
And like it can fuck everything up. Like
Yeah,
and I have like a really serious like filter, like like the painter sort of looking filter thing that goes over my face and goggles and stuff. And I only remember to use it after I've cut the board in half and shit's floating in the air, and I'm like, oh fuck, I gotta go get the mask. Every time. Like I did that spray painting too yesterday. I was like, it smells pretty good. I should probably go get the mask. Yeah,
no, I'm
because
much more cavalier.
well, it's too cold to like do anything with ventilation right now. It's like, let's see, what's the current temperature where I'm at?
This is going to be in Fahrenheit though, which will mean nothing to me.
No,
Sorry.
it's well, shit. No, I actually have to do math. Just a second. Let's go to Celsius. It is negative 18 Celsius.
Oh shit. Oh shit.
So like going outside to like saw something or spray paint, like it's not gonna fucking work. Like,
our neighbours already don't like us, so if I start sawing things in the garden, they would be very unimpressed.
yeah, so I don't, winter is when I do that stuff. In the summer, I'm like, there's a slight breeze, I'll be fine. Hopefully those little particles from the circuit boards they just float away from me.
I had someone who commented on one of the circuit bending videos that said, they basically were saying that I was making out that I didn't know what I was doing, and that I clearly knew because what I was doing was dangerous, and obviously, you must know what you're doing because you obviously know how dangerous this is and stuff. And I was like, no, I really don't. This is not an act. Like, this is ignorance and idiocy, blind kind of, forging ahead without.
Yeah, I mean, I've had similar conversations with folks, and like my favorite was when I was looking into the Meanwell power supplies. Like I was, like I had a good idea of what to do because I talked about it a fair amount. But I was like trying to get some people with like actual schematics. Like the best possible resource you can get out there currently isn't a schematic. It's not like anything like, hey, you should just do this if you want to do UREC. It's like somebody took Photoshop or MS Paint or something and like MS painted a bunch of components and drew lines between them and like like that's the best out there. So I was like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, blah blah blah. And I had a question. The guy was like, if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't even know the answer to that question, you shouldn't even be touching this stuff. And I was like, well, but I'm gonna. Are you gonna help me? Like, come on. Like people just assume you know what you're doing a lot of the time, and it's just like a lot of guessing. Like I made this phone first, and it's awesome. But what I didn't realize until like I think a week and a half ago is that when you hang up, it adds serious noise floor because there's like a floating whatever. Didn't know that was a thing because A, my noise floor previous to that was so loud it didn't matter. And B, I built a phone for Bar Talk doing the same thing I did for this one. So like he's probably not using it and isn't too embarrassed to tell me that it is noisy when you hang it up. But with this new phone, I figured it out. I just guessed. Like, there's a lot of guessing involved, and it might work and might blow up, but who knows?
I'm in a band with this guy who is so cavalier about shit like that. Like, he'll come in and I saw him. He was trying to find a power supply for his pedals, and he's just like looking around the studio, picking up the first power supply he sees, and like plugging it in at the pedal. And I'm like, "What the fuck are you doing?" He was like, "Oh, I'm trying to find the power supply." It was like, "Do you know what polarity is?" He was like, "What?" So you can't just plug in random things and he's always, I gave him like a prototype pedal from some boutique company that when I first started doing the channel, they sent me this thing as like, thanks for covering up pedal or whatever. And I gave it to him and he's like, "Oh, it doesn't work." And I'm like, no wonder it doesn't work since you've probably just plugged in some fucking 24-volt thing in it. Like, just literally pulling it out, putting in another one. Like, fuck me, man.
I hate these little pedal sockets, whatever those things are called. I don't know what the connector is, but like, you know what I'm talking, like the 9-volt typical, or 12-volt or whatever the thing is. Yeah, 2.1 mil connector. Especially when on the device itself, it doesn't say whether it's center positive or negative, which I didn't know a thing until I like stumbled onto the guitar pedal world, and they were like really adamant about that in places. But like, I even have guitar pedals that say nothing about this on them, which it works as expected typically. But like, I don't want to have to go fucking dig up a manual to plug that shit in. I might just guess.
No. Talking about this actually is related. I had an ataraxic translator or something, which is like a Eurorack chip module thing, and it was one of the first ones I got. It's like a VCO, like a noisy VCO. It sounds like a dial-up modem kind of thing. And I took it out of my rack because I wanted to move stuff about, and then I tried to plug it in, and it wasn't working, and I couldn't figure out like, what the fuck? Like, have I blown this up? Has something stopped working? And so it sat there for years, literally years. And I messaged them and they said, "Oh, send it in for repair and whatever." And then I forgot to send it to them. And then years went by and I was too embarrassed to like contact them again. So I finally did it and I messaged them and said, "Look, I'm sorry. Like, it's been years, but I was too embarrassed to tell you." So they said, "Oh, send it in." And I tried it and I had it plugged in the wrong way around because it wasn't a keyed header. And it worked. Like, it worked. It was never broken. So 6 years went by where I didn't use this thing because. So thank fuck they had like reverse. Can I swear? By the way, I guess it's too late to say that, but I presume I can. I wouldn't say anything awful, but fuck.
I think as long as you're not doing like racial slurs or.
I wouldn't be.
Yeah, there's like the one specific word you had a chat about with Simon the other day that I might steer clear of that one because
that's Simon's
Americans.
Fault.
But like, I think I just have a policy now. Like, if they don't have it written on there, it's gonna get sharp on one way or another. So this one's got it, already on there, thankfully. But I have a few devices that are big silver Sharpie, like 9-volt center positive or something.
I have to look up the symbol every time though because I can't remember which one is center positive. Like,
so the way
one that cuddles the plus, right?
I don't know what the symbol is. I just use like it's gonna suck. Let's try this camera. Like that icon. I don't know if you can see it. There's like a little circle.
That's what I mean. That symbol I have to fucking look up every single time.
Oh.
Like, what is
this? I just bodge it. The only prohibited word here is the other C word, clouds. I guess. Do you have a clouds? Do either of you?
Yes.
You probably both have clouds because you're rack users.
Yeah. I use it quite a lot actually. Mostly as a tape delay.
That's cool. Yeah,
it's pretty awesome.
Have you got the full one or the micro one? Because I always thought about getting the micro one instead.
Yeah, I have the full one. I kind of want to have the Monsoon instead, but I feel ridiculous buying a copy of a module I already have just because it's a couple of centimeters shorter.
Yeah. Yeah. Although the original ones are like sell well,
Yeah,
which is weird.
and I have a black replacement panel on as well, so I guess I could sell it easily. But I feel I mean, it's a historic module at this point. I mean, I think I should hang on to it.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess it's about what you need. Like, do you need that extra whatever 2 or 4 HP or something, or is it
Always.
just like
Always, yeah, for sure.
always like yeah. Only people who've either just built or just bought a case are like, I have 1,000,000 HP left. I'm never gonna run out. And like 2 weeks later, they're like, I don't have any money, but I need more space in my rack now.
Yeah.
The best comment is when people that haven't used modular are getting into it and they're like, oh yeah, imagine how are your modules organized? Like, are they, what's the workflow? Like, does it go from like, VCO to VC8? And you're like, no, it's wherever it fucking fits in, um, and there's not too much power being drawn. Like, literally, there's no logic to the setup of this thing. It's just
I have a little bit of logic on mine.
you've got logic.
I mean, I just want to have stuff that I use in a place where I can reach them, and stuff I
I mean,
use rarely a little bit away.
How big is the case?
What is it? It's got four regular rows and then one euro. So not that big.
Yeah, that's okay. I thought you were like, fucking like up here. trying
No,
to-
no.
No, there's
No,
not that
I
many
just like to have my
folks.
sequencer in the bottom row, and on the top row I have my VCOs.
So have
but
you
I
got a
mean,
Cosmo as well? Because I'm curious about how you like interact with them.
No, I don't
my-
have Cosmos.
Because my Cosmo case is like huge and it's on the floor, and the Eurorack's like up on the desk, so I'm having to use like 2 meter long, Eurorack cables to try and stretch across to the. Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
I like that.
No, I mean,
If that answers your question.
I'm
I
sitting
also
in
had
basically a very
Bartok
tiny
make me-
room, so and I got my desk here where I also usually do work, and I have another desk next to me where my girlfriend does her work, and then I have a tiny space where it just fits on a piano stand thing, one of those keyboard stands, right? Cramped next to my desk.
That's far too long.
Yeah, I had Bartok make me some really long cables.
Is it jack? Is it jack in each end, or is it jack?
They're
in each
3.5 millimeter jacks, but they look really boss with that like silver. Yeah, they look like mini guitar jacks, guitar cable jacks. But I just do these into these things, which you can never have too many of. Yeah, so that's how I manage it, and I think I'm gonna need to get more because, like you said, like no matter where you put it in relation to your Cosmo, with the exception, actually, let me change the camera angle. I have one little exception. But no matter where you put it, you need long cables. Like Cosmo cables, like my average go-to cable is 3 feet, about a meter. Is that right? I don't know. Anyway, it's a long cable. Like this is pretty average, but I have a small Eurorack section inside of this. So this is where I have like the modules that I need within, Cosmo at 64 HP. So that's the one exception, and part of that sort of adapter has a format jumbler, so it can go from 3.5 millimeter to 1/4 inch.
Oh, what's that? Did you make that?
No, a guy named Crucifix or Darkness on the Lookmumna computer forums made it. It's called the Eurorack playset, and I really want him to make more of them, so maybe we should hit him up, because it's like pretty boss to have a small Eurorack section within Cosmo.
So the format jumbler is something I'm going to make. I think I've got acrylic panels coming, although it's really annoying because they're too thick, but I'll figure it out. But I want to, because I've got test equipment as well that has got like banana jacks.
Yeah.
I want to be able to like,
to swap them out, and they're pretty trivial. Like you can do them really
they're
fancy
passive.
ways, but yeah, it's just.
Grounding will be the interesting thing, because I've had the grounding issues with my separate cases.
Oh yeah.
And if you go on Modwiggle or whatever and you ask about it, there's always like people who build like industrial power supplies who like give you shit for not, you know, spending £10,000 on some fully, you know, properly
Have a
grounded
ground
thing.
rail and make sure all your modules are connected to the
Yeah.
ground rail and like do some. Yeah.
And especially when you're fucking about these like the test equipment and stuff, because you've got to like ground it separately. But I've ended up getting like grounding strips, like actual like braided metal things, and they
Yeah.
said, well, that'll stop the buzz, but it won't like protect you. I was like, fuck it, fine. As long as there's no buzz, that's fine. So,
Yeah.
you're worse because you don't have in North America. You don't really like. You've got those stupid 2-pin things. There's not. You don't normally get the 3-pin grounded connection.
No, they are. They're typically 3. Yeah. I was like, where's my nearest cable that has one of these? They're usually like these things. So it is
See, I
3.
must have stayed in like really old houses because they all had the 2.
Yeah, the 2 ones are sketchy. And I've got some extension cords that have 2, or really old power strips that have 2, one of which I blew up recently, so don't love the 2 thing.
No.
And when I say blew up, I mean in the biblical sense, it blew up. None of my gear was hurt, though, so that was cool.
I'm just reading the YouTube comments because you can't see the YouTube chat in here for some reason, but I can see it.
Yeah, because Earth Modular goes through Restream itself, so it's not. This doesn't go directly to their YouTube channel. Like maybe ask.
See, because
permission,
I don't want to open it up in this bloody computer because it'll kill my internet.
What I do is I open up the YouTube and then I pop out the chat and then I close the YouTube.
Does that work?
Yeah.
I'm too scared now that this is working.
I have it in a second monitor.
Rings okay. Buying smaller modules okay. Yeah, buying smaller modules when you're first buying is fine.
There was a call out for the Antumbra modules. I have 2 of them, and I really regret. I regret one of them basically. It's the Platts clone I have, the Antumbra in it, which is the smallest Platts available, and the usability is terrible. And I find myself like thinking this module doesn't do anything, or it doesn't sound good. And I know that Platts sounds good. It's kind of a known fact, but I don't get very good results with it. I have to fiddle a lot, and it's just not very intuitive to use either. So yeah.
It's like those Blue Lantern modules that are just like a wall of knobs, like crammed in a tiny space.
Yeah.
I still want that, even though they're clearly
unusable. Yeah, that doesn't appeal to me. Like I got used to Cosmo, and then like I got that Eurorack playset. That was my first dipping my toes into Eurorack, and I think I got like maths first, and I was like, what the. How does anyone do this shit? Like y'all are like doing sick stuff, and I'm like, fucking like feel like I'm trying to like, you know, pick up rice with chopsticks or something. You know, like it doesn't like grain.
It's kind of natural, right? If you only do Eurorack, you're sort of you're limited to the boundaries of your case. And at a certain point, you're near the point where you can't fit anything more into it. You start thinking, well, there's a smaller version of this available. How if I just swap everything with 2 HP modules, I can fit so much more into it. And you buy all the Erica Nano Pico modules, and you
go into this route.
It's just.
And I designed for that because I think that's going to be me eventually. But
you will end there. I mean. Unless you just build more cases and more power supplies.
I way overpowered my Eurorack case. No, I don't want to build any more cases. Like I think I'm going to build one more.
You don't want to, you will.
Yeah, I only want to build one more. I guess 2 more. Never mind. It's just the number's going to keep going up. But yeah, a couple of 1 single row Cosmo cases is what I want to build. Since I've got those SCUK power supplies just hanging out in my garage, not doing much right now.
I
Because
put
you know,
3 of those meanwhiles into my case. It's completely overpowered.
3.
Yeah.
That's so I mean, I guess I have 2 in these, which is the same. Like 2 in one of these cases is stupid because there's like, especially that top case that's Cosmo only. It's like 15 modules. Uh, 2, I think 1 or 2 of which is passive. Um, one of them uses the 5 volt, and the rest are super low power analog stuff, except for the tuners. But that's about it. Like it's super overkill.
Yeah, I just thought I don't want to think about power. I just want to have enough. And
Yeah.
the case builder, he basically had 2 packages, one with X amount of meanwhiles and one with the Dofer modules instead. And the Dofer modules are expensive. They're probably
Mhm.
really good, but I was just thinking, look how many of these meanwhiles I can get for the price of one of these Dofers.
That's what I did too. I was like, how long does it take to measure negative amperage on all of these modules and all this
Yeah.
stuff? And I was like, I'll just use 2. It's like $30 more.
Yep. Yeah, because there's a minus 12 volt issue on it there.
My Euro cases are all the tip top uses.
Tip top.
Yeah, partly because when I started getting into it, that was the easiest way to do it in terms of there wasn't as many options available, and it was kind of like I don't want to mess about with PSU units inside or anything. Although the shuttle control as well from Endorphin acts as a power supply, which is really cool.
Right.
Wow.
So it doesn't take up additional space, which is nice.
Yeah, I think endorphins, like a range of their modules, are absolutely the top of my list if I was going to make like an airplane friendly case, because they do really a lot for you in a compact space designed to play live. Like it's pretty cool.
Although so I've got the shuttle control, which is the MIDI CV thing,
Yeah.
and then there's the shuttle mate, which is like the MIDI DIN expander
Yep.
thing.
Yep.
And I use that as like the central thing for most things I do because you can completely configure it and all that crap.
Yep.
But I was having trouble with something, and they said, "Oh, have you updated the firmware?" And I was like, "What do you take me for? Of course I have." But then they were like, "Oh no, the firmware on the Shuttle Mate, so the expander module also has its own microcontroller." But to do that, I don't even know if I've got it here. To do it, they're like, you can either send it to us and we'll do it for free, like upgrade the firmware, fine. But it's going to cost like 40 quid by the time you post it to Latvia and all that.
Yep.
Or you can get one of these one of these microcontroller programmer things, right? So I ordered one from China, and it took like 6 weeks to arrive. And they sent me this one, which is the wrong one. The same thing as the power supply, like debacle. So it wasn't working because the pins are like different. So then I bought one on Amazon for like 8 quid, which I was furious about. And then it turns out you can only do it on Windows, which I don't have. So I was like, fuck's sake! This was like 6 months trying to update this bloody module. So yeah, because I went to visit the Instro workshop recently because they're in Glasgow, and I didn't know they were in Glasgow, which is kind of ridiculous. But I went down and they were saying, "Oh, you'll be able to upgrade." I don't know if I can tell anyone. Anyway, they were saying they've got firmware upgrades coming, I think, for various modules, and they said that. I was like, "Well, how do you upgrade them?" Because, like, if it's some bloody weird microcontroller thing, then. But no, they've just got like USB ports, and you just go. It's like
Nice.
That's smart. It's the best way to do it.
I
That's the way to
upgraded
go.
my Poly Cinematic today, and they have just the development board in the back. We just flip it up, and there's a micro USB plug. You just plug it in, and for some reason, it works better on any operating system but Windows. So it's good.
You don't have to fire up some VM from like free Windows XP virtual machine and all that crap. And then map the USB ports and everything to. Oh god.
Yeah. No, I really prefer that, especially to the audio file firmware loading. I mean, even though it's sort of trivial to do, it's just a lot more easy if you just plug a USB cable into your PC.
So today's topic is actually just all the things that we tried to save money on by doing ourselves and totally fucking spent more money and wasted time.
Story of my life.
Is there anything you will actually save money on by doing it yourself? I'm kind of doubting that at this point. I mean,
Money
it's
maybe, but not time. Yeah,
maybe even.
like
I did have a. Oh,
like
is this
these just
the
save you
cables?
time. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
I had a situation recently where, and I'm still debating whether or not I want to name the person because they pissed me off royally. But it was a video synthesizer like enhancer thing, but it was like one that was purpose built, and I bought the kit because the kit was like I don't know, €60, maybe something like that. It was significantly cheaper. And I messaged them and said, look, I don't want to do a kit because I blow up everything I touch. So, and they said, oh no, the kit's really easy. It's basically, you don't, it's all SMD, but it's pre-soldered. All you do is clip the jacks and stuff into place. So I was like,
Yep.
okay. And it turned up and I built it fine, easy. But then it wasn't working. And I was like, what the fuck? How could this have gone wrong? And I spoke to them and it turned out some of the SMD components had like not been, with the wave soldering, they weren't on the board properly. They were like pillar boxed or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
And so they said, well, we'll send you one out, but you have to like pay for like they'll send out a replacement, PTB or whatever, but I'd have to pay for like the postage. And I was like, no, wait a minute.
Fuck.
It turned up and the components weren't working. And they said, oh well, but the kits have got no warranty on them. I was like, yeah, if I fuck it up, then yeah, that's fine. But you've sent me something that I literally can't build. It will never work. And they went, oh well, how am I meant to sell kits? I was like, it's not my problem. You've sent me something that literally isn't a kit. It's not as described. Like, what am I meant to do with your SMD components? And we had a big fight about it. That's why I was going to do a video on this particular video synth, but if I do, I'm going to say he was a dick, because he was. But in the end, they sent me it and it works. But it was just this interesting kind of concept because they couldn't grasp the idea that, like, if you send people broken parts, they can't actually make something that works out of it. So,
Hmm.
That would
Yeah,
drive
I
me
just-
mad.
attempt to save money.
And I'm guessing what happened to those components is my first ever attempt at SMDA. This is like super common where you solder one of the pads, put like a resistor or capacitor on there, heat up the pad, and if there's not like a tweezers or something on that component holding it in place, it's really hard to do. It's really fiddly. As soon as that solder gets wet, it will sort of suck up the component and flip it up like a tombstone.
Yeah, that's. I think
Yeah,
though this was like
yeah.
like it was wave soldered, but
Yeah,
I guess
yeah.
that they would have got them in big batches, and there'll be like 1% of them that won't work, but they just.
Yeah, but that should be something that's easy to. They should have done a little bit of QC. Yeah, I'm a little mad for you too. Also, if you have that spare PCB, the next time I send you stuff, you should send me that, and I'll make the thing.
Yeah. I've got a bunch of weird broken things. And I think that's like an interesting topic, I guess, is like if you support boutique or smaller projects and stuff, like it's good to do that. But the problem is, there comes a certain point if it isn't working, you feel bad about being like, look, this is fucked, because it's happened a few times, and you don't want to fight with somebody that's making something cool. But at the same time, it's like, well, I'm not going to, spend a few £100 and support you, and then you not like kind of take responsibility for what you said you were going to do.
Yeah, and most of them, like there's some really good examples of folks who actually go the extra mile. Like you were saying on one of the M8 videos, I think that, geez, I'm forgetting their name, but like the person who made M8 just goes like above and beyond to fix any issues that you have immediately, like that day. Scorp is really responsive in my experience, where I had issues with the Rample powering up, which is entirely actually my fault. It had something to do with the FCUK power supply I had. It just didn't like each other. But they were like sending me custom firmware to try to fix it. Like that's cool.
That's cool. Yeah.
Have you heard
I
of,
have
you
a
know,
Cupid module I had to return. It's Nano Rand, it's just a random module, but it has a white noise out, and all of a sudden the white noise just stopped. So I contacted them, and they asked me to write to the people I bought it from here in Norway, and I did, and they never responded. But in the end, they covered the shipping to the US and back, which was really nice. They weren't supposed to. I mean,
Yeah.
purchase laws and everything. I should just have bugged my seller here
Yeah.
locally.
that's what makes a big difference. Like that's why, you know, like boutique sellers can be great. Like the auto machines, I've got the BIM and the BAM, which are the square things. I'm sure you've seen them, but I've had them for years and years, and one of them was like 3.5 years out of warranty, and it's not working. Like, and I emailed them and said, "Oh, I don't know what's wrong," and they asked me to do it. And this was over Christmas as well, and they replied and said, "Oh, we're having a holiday, so it'll be a day or two late." I was like, I'm not that bothered about it. It's like 4 year, 4 years past purchase, and they did the same thing. They said, "Oh, send it in, we'll cover shipping," and then I just paid the shipping. I didn't ask them for that back, but they like completely replaced it, no charge. And you're like, it was really, not required to do that. Whereas, yeah, other brands that they over the warranty, it'd be like, nope, tough shit.
Yes, for
Yeah.
sure. Like, yeah, most of the things I own are that way. Iganopolis is saying like DIY kits are about the only thing that sort of save time and money, or save money at least. And I agree with that to an extent. There are always exceptions. Like I think the Trogtronic power supply kit I got, I was like, well, I'm gonna get the DIY kit because I feel like I should DIY this a little bit, and I think it saved me like $80 or something, maybe a little bit less. But man, that was like half a roll of solder. Like that thing took forever to put together because it's every single header and all that stuff, and it wasn't hard. Versus like the Winter Bloom modules are an absolute joy. Like I think if you can get the DIY kits on those ones, it doesn't even matter if it saves you money. They're super easy to put together, and they are QC'd pretty well. So
I've seen people building things like the Lyra 8, and I'm like, I don't care how much money I save on something like that. The
yeah,
complexity and time it would take to build something with that. No. I
like the
guess if you're good
Deckard's
at it.
Dream.
Oh yeah, fuck
Yeah, you can
that.
do that.
Like
Yeah.
2 grand or something to
I'm like,
mess it
I'm not
up.
gonna spend that much to fuck it up myself. Like it's so complicated.
Yeah.
Although going back to the Instro guy, when I was at their workshop, they had this amazing like big. I can't remember what synth it was, but it was some big like ARP style thing, maybe 2500 or something. I can't remember. I was like, oh, that's really cool. And he went, oh yeah, I built that in a weekend. I was like, what? And it was a kit. But because he's obviously like very skilled at this, since he's got a modular company, it was just he sat and watched like reruns. He watched the entire Lord of the Rings like series or something 3 times and just sat and like.
I mean, I can see
Well,
that if it's a kit and you have all the pieces, and like I imagine it was probably bigger, like more like Cosmo in size, and that there's just a lot of panel space and not as much soldering as some things.
I would fuck up.
Yeah,
I would find a
yeah.
way.
I mean, for sure, like that's a lot to
Yeah.
easily fuck up. I'm already.
And for me, that wouldn't be a question. I just would.
DIY
My
is a great
last,
way to pace yourself. That's actually
yeah,
why I got into Cosmo, is because I knew Eurorack was expensive. I wanted to save some money, and I didn't. Spoiler, but did take me longer to spend the money because it's like hard to source parts and all that shit. So I guess that's an advantage. I just ordered like 5 or 6 more Cosmo modules, so I have to like go through component ordering hell now.
Are you gonna build?
At some
Have you
point.
got space? You're gonna have to build another case.
Yeah, I already have. They're in another room because I did the quick reorganization. I wanted to test out this box this morning, but I have a completely empty Cosmo case, the same size as this one back here, and I also have a mostly empty Eurorack case that size. So I do have space.
It's a
I did
sickness.
not buy any like There's a giant, I forget what it's called. It's essentially 4 LFOs together in like a crazy huge panel, like a mega LFO panel that Sam made that was really tempting, but I passed on. I also passed on the huge sequencer. So most of the things are small Cosmo modules versus like the Mega Drone or something. So it shouldn't fill up too fast. There are some modules I am planning on building. Like I want to get back in touch with Stargirl about getting some B stock honking buttons because I want to make a triple honking button because they're pretty cool. Like they're on Circuit Python. There's a lot of examples, and it doesn't take an experienced programmer to like look at the examples and like make it do what you want. Like for example, on the one that usually is sitting up here that I built, I'll probably pull it off and update the code so that if it gets a trigger, it's like a base kick, like a signal trigger. But if I hit the button, it's a goose. Like that kind of thing. So you can also make it cycle through samples, which is pretty cool. That kind of stuff. So I think 3 of those would be pretty fun to have for me. So yeah, that's the thing.
Like just
Buying a
case
Cosmo
full of
module,
concrete
yes,
buttons.
it's buying a PCB and a front panel is typically what it is. Sometimes more than one PCB. Like if you look at this one, which I got not from Sam, it's from I think this is a C-Torp module. But it's just all it came with was the PCBs. That's typically all they come with.
What one is
Front
that?
panel as well.
Yeah, in the front panel is the PCB. So
Right.
all just PCBs. And I really like not having to make the front panel. This is a cascading converter, which is like 3.5 millimeter to a quarter inch as sort of 2 mult sets, sort of cascade kind of.
So that's
in a
exactly
non-intuitive.
what I want.
Yeah. Check the forums for cascading converter, and yeah. If not, I mean, it's not that hard of a. Like I accidentally drilled too many holes in the phone, and I made it into a passive mult real quick. So, yeah. Helium, yeah, that's a cool mult that our girl made. Yeah, I mean, the thing I hate the most about Cosmo modules isn't the actual building it or playing it. It's the ordering from bill of materials. Like, that sucks. There's some folks in the forums who do a really good job of helping you source parts, but, like, the easiest would be to just live in the UK and order from Rapid Electronics and spend more money than you probably should.
I'm laughing at the comments because someone was talking about when I built the Cosmo case and I bought balsa wood. And balsa wood, if you don't know, which I did not know, it is not strong. It is like dust.
Yeah.
But when you Google it, right, if you Google how strong is balsa wood, it says balsa wood is very strong, like for whatever it is.
For its weight, yeah.
Yeah, but you don't realize that it's like literally just crumbles. It's like polystyrene.
Yeah, I think you took a bite out of it, and I
Yeah.
lost it. Because I think in middle school or something, did like some like extracurricular thing where you like build bridges and things like that out of balsa wood, and it's like you saw the wood with like a dull knife, like it just it just cuts like butter. Like you can't build a case out of that. Like if you like bump it with your elbow, there will be an indent from your elbow. Like it's not. And like there's some tricks you can bake it, and it'll get a little harder, but.
I got it mostly for the rails, because it came in the strips that were like the correct millimeter or whatever.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Yeah, that's not good for rails. I also had rail issues because I did the wooden rail thing. Pine is what I mostly use, but I have like this house came with a shed full of like crappy barn wood, so I don't know what half of the wood is. And I was like, this is the perfect width for a rail, and like it's a hardwood, and that means when I put a screw in there, it goes. But I glued that
Yeah.
rail in, so I think that's in this one somewhere. Anyway,
I had that with the
yeah,
exterior. I got shelves because I didn't want to do the cutting thing, and the shelves. I got it all together and I glued them in place, and then I went to put the screw in. I drilled the pilot holes or whatever, put the screw in, and it just went. I was like, "Oh, you fucker!" Yeah.
and when I was building this box over here, like I've not used nails in a very long time. I'm a screws are superior kind of person because you can like drill holes and it's tighter, but like I'm using much thinner wood so that I can lift the box. And so I use nails. But like I'm like just waiting for that one hit where you hear the crack. I think it only happened once somewhere over here, so I painted over it so it doesn't look so bad. But hopefully it'll hold up. It's not. This case is not gonna be as nice as I was hoping. um, but it will work at least once. And then people will see like, oh, he was crap live. We're never inviting him again. I'll be like, cool. I can just latch it together, take the front panel off, and I've got a Cosmo case. Pre-drill. Yeah, I know. I pre-drill. Well, here's the thing about pre-drilling Iguanopolis. You can pre-drill when you're building the case itself. When you're on the rails and you've got like 8 modules already in there, pre-drilling isn't really the most convenient because you're going to get sawdust all over your shit. And so I just risk the cracking every time. Yeah. I don't know what a VIX bit is. Sounds cool though. Inexpensive.
I'm googling it.
Well, it's like when I had the problem with the knobs that I got the knobs that Sam recommended, so I'm blaming him completely for this. But it was, oh, you get these knobs; these are great, but they're 6 millimeters or whatever it is, and they're 6 millimeters internally, but the knobs, or no, the potentiometers, sorry, are 6.35, so they wouldn't fit on, and I had bought like 50 quid's worth of knobs. So yeah, fuck. And I'd waited like 6 weeks from China to get them as well. So then I was like, well, I can ream them. Like I can, but then you can't just use a normal drill bit because it will just go through. So then you
Yeah.
have to buy the specific bit. And then you're like, how many very weird specific bits of tools that I have now that I'll never use again? Just to solve a problem that wouldn't have existed if I hadn't embarked upon this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised by that because I am almost positive. Now I'm second guessing myself, but I'm almost positive because I did buy the knobs that Sam recommended, and there's 6. You're right. There's 6 millimeter. But I also bought the pots, and I think they're matching. I didn't have any issues. But I spent a
I'm
lot
still
of money
blaming him.
on potentiometers, and that really sucks. I do have a local source for potentiometers now, and I'm thrilled about it because they order like a batch of like a bazillion and then sell them to us, which is great.
Well, I cheaped out on the potentiometers as well because that was the problem.
Yep.
I've got the Megadrone here, which, as you can see, is not ever going to be finished. But it's I got these ones which are like cheap, but they don't have the retaining screw or nut or whatever. So they don't work, which is good. So I've literally got like hundreds of them, and then I had to decide whether or not I would actually buy proper potentiometers, which I did, and they're much better, but they're much more expensive. And
They
then you
are.
can also see my nice bodging here of so this doesn't work. So maybe I'll send it to you and you can make it work.
Maybe so. I would
I
probably
will
swap out
never-
all the pots, but because they like hold the panel in place.
Yes, it's something that I could have considered before now. I've also got a nice
yeah.
blue tack in there.
Oh yeah, I've got some blue tack permanently in a few modules.
Yeah.
Hopefully it turns into blue glue. Yeah, that. My Mega Drone was also a source of sketchiness for a bit because I socketed all of the capacitors with just like the, I don't know,
The wrong size.
pinhead connectors or whatever, which are like kind of loose for capacitors. So like, it'd be like, it started off like slow, like over time. Like at first, it would be like one of the oscillators stops working, so I'd go like, and it would work. Adds to the charm, fine. But it started like detuning them because their connection was there, but not great. So I had to pull that whole thing apart, which is like, it's the least fun module to take apart once it's put together because it's like a cajillion knobs and a cajillion, bolts, like you're nuts. You got to take off. It sucks. The same with the MIDI to CV. That one I troubleshooted forever, but it's like, let's see, 3 times. Oh God, it's like 20 plus nuts just to like get the thing apart. Sucks. Yeah, I hate troubleshooting. Pneumatic nail gun. I did not use a pneumatic nail gun. I used my hammer that I've only used had it since high school, and I've only used it like 5 times in my life. So
a vintage hammer?
Stoked.
Is that the one you got in Goodwill?
It's just a hammer. I don't think it's vintage. It's like some hammer that I think my dad got me for Christmas because he wanted me to like be a man or something. Like,
yeah, but we're all old now, so technically that's vintage.
I guess it's like lightweight. I don't know if it's carbon or what. Like I don't know. It's a weird hammer. It works.
See, this is.
And I got box nails. I don't even know if box nails are the right nails to use, but they said box nails on the box, so I assume that's what they're for.
Box of nails.
I don't know, it just said box. No, it's just I double checked that it wasn't just box of nails. They were box. It's a box of box nails. It is satisfying when you have a specific tool, when you need a specific tool and you need it, or even more satisfying, I would say, if you built that tool. One of the people on the Look Mom No Computer forums, gosh, I can't even say it, built like a cable testing thingy PCB, and so like I ordered one to put it together and like got a Arduino and all that stuff. That thing freaking rules. Like testing Eurorack cables sucks manually because it's too many pins. This thing, just plug in the ends. It's like, you're good. I'm like, cool. Won't fry a module. Next. Cool. Won't fry a module. Like, it's perfect. Love that thing. I would love that for these cables because I do these with my multimeter.
I've got some Behringer thing. One of their fucking...
Yeah, that like cable tester dealio. Yeah.
But I have never used it, ever. It's never even been turned on.
I have a couple of those for network cables, but not for audio cables, unfortunately.
Well, with these, like, there's only 2 connections, so it doesn't take that long, but I do tend to buy, like, my philosophy for buying cables, because they're regular instrument cables and easy to modify, is that buy long, I can always cut them up, and now I'll have 2 or 3 cables, so that's what I end up doing a lot. If I run out of short stuff, cut a bunch more. Now I'm going to need longer ones, though, because the Eurorack case I made is this wide, and it's going to sit next to it, so, like, if I want to plug, like, this into this, that's, like,
I would get one of those. I would get one of those where you can use, like, an Ethernet cable or an HDMI cable or something like that between the cases. So you don't have to, have 10 cables going over, but you could have a couple of Ethernet cables or one Ethernet
I guess I
cable.
could make one, like, Cosmo format version of that, but...
It shouldn't be very hard.
Yeah, I just don't want to.
No, I mean...
I don't like building utility modules. I like building modules that are Well, I just like building filters. Filters are the coolest thing in the world to me.
But I mean, if you're gonna have two cases that are sort of independent, it's nice to be able to not have to pull every cable between them, but you can just have one cable that fits a lot
Yeah,
of stuff.
What's the
that's
HDMI?
true.
The Ethernet pins. Like, how does it? How many do you have?
I think you have 6 in and 6 out or something like that. It's not a lot, and you have to use pretty good quality Ethernet cable like Cat7 or something like that.
Well, are there
Because of the noise crosstalk.
6 wires, or is there more to it than that? Like, how many wires are in the cable? Because I'm
I
going to do it
don't
the
remember.
dumbest way possible.
It's been a while since I've looked at an Ethernet cable.
That was
in
one of
time.
my first jobs. Was I had to I worked in an IT service desk, and I had to make those cables with you have to put them in the right slots, and then and that's all I
Yeah.
did all day for a long time.
Yeah.
So I hate Ethernet
I've
cable.
done a few, but it's been a while. And I luckily don't do it professionally. There's people who are much better at that than me. It sucks making Ethernet
I was-
cables basically. Yeah, you have to have a
Oh,
pretty
yes.
good piece of tool for it.
8 pairs of cables. Is that what you're saying, Enthusiastic Electron? So it would be 16 wires.
Yep.
Is that right?
That sounds right. Yeah.
And they could all share a ground, right? Like, you could just use one of those wires as the ground. I don't know. Do you need
Yeah,
this as
they're
ground? I
they're
don't know.
pretty
Yeah.
they're pretty thin, those cables, so you have to be careful. I don't think I've seen any of those bridge modules that actually use all 8 of them. And there's probably some crosstalk you have to be aware of as well.
Well, we don't care about crosstalk. Like, that's the least of my problems.
Noise.
Good music is the challenge. Oh shit! It's 11:14 here. We can keep going, or we can kill it now. What do you think?
I've got 15 minutes.
I got a few minutes as well, but I need to get something to eat soon.
All right. Does anyone have any questions for all my friends or synths or Ising before we go? We'll answer super fast. We have to wait 20 seconds, I think. Yeah, this GB303 is pretty rad. Super basic. There's a thing at the post office that will maybe make it usable in videos, but we'll see. Just need everything to be powered by MIDI, you know? Yeah. And I'm going to build another MIDI to CV module, which I am not looking forward to. That one. I mean, it should go straightforward now that I know what I fucked up on the first one, but I still don't want to do it. It's like half my jack sockets go to that one module. The wires is why, the thin wires are why the Euro power cables double up. But I still don't understand, like, couldn't they all share a ground? So, like, instead of having a ground and a tip for every single one of those as their own individual wires, couldn't there just be one ground wire going to the other case? It's probably a wrong idea, but I feel like that would free up a lot of those Ethernet cables.
Yeah.
The reason I want to build my own is not because I actually want to. It's that I don't want to. All the ones that exist are in Eurorack format, and that means that every single cable would need an adapter, pretty much that goes into or out of Cosmo.
I think the worst
Yeah,
bit
that
would be
could-
drilling a hole for the bloody Ethernet plug. How would you do that?
A small
Something.
hole in a file.
That's another tool I have to buy.
Or maybe like you could do like a hole big enough for like a little saw and like saw crappy. I don't even know. It's whatever that shape is. The slightly different than a phone cable shape. Box-ish. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't done any square holes yet in my panels. That'd be new to me.
You could just make the hole bigger.
What I really need is like a really thick one of these that has like TRRRRRRRRS or something, right? Like, because then you can just. Does that exist? Is there like a 16 ring or 15 ring quarter-inch cable, please?
Probably not.
Multi-core.
Could use one
big
ground,
one.
but Europower uses so many for ground because bad news if your one ground cable fails. Okay. I guess. I don't know. I'm not super sold on that idea. Like, I'd rather just get long cables.
I guess so. If it's just for audio, it doesn't matter. Like if it's for power, yeah. But if the Ethernet's
Yeah.
for CV and stuff, then it should be fine.
Yeah, I think it just gets a little cranky if it's not ground. Like, it's just a little bit of ground noise or something. Like, I don't think it's that bad for audio. I don't know. Not going to experiment with that, but it would be fun too, I guess.
I might do it if I can find a way to make a square hole in acrylic.
A square hole.
Square hole.
I mean, I think a cheap, like, jewelry file or something might work. And
I
what do you make in the
don't know what
case? I mean, what do you? Yeah.
I don't need more ideas. Like I've got plenty of ideas for things that I've never finished and never will finish already. So,
Yeah, I have such a huge backlog of modules. Like, I should not have ordered more modules. I have like 8 in the garage right now without any components, so I should just get to it. But I think those I'm just that's not going to happen for a minute because I'll order their missing components when I order. I fucking hate ordering from bill of materials. Because like when you already have stuff, you gotta like see what you have. Like maybe I have this thing already and I shouldn't order 5 more of it. Sucks.
yeah. Yes.
Yeah, my rack has been sort of full for a long time now, and I know I want to kind of do some things, but it's a multi-step thing. So I need to buy some replacement modules and just sell some modules, and here we are. Nothing has happened. I really want to. I've been thinking about it for a long time now. Getting the Queen of Pentacles.
Yeah.
But then I have to sell all my old drum stuff, and I also have to swap some stuff around. It's complicated.
Yeah, just sell some stuff and swap some stuff around, and then you can have Queen of Pentacles, which is like some sick analog drums, and then you can add like a goose sample in there too.
Yeah, that's mandatory.
That was a module I was really heavily looking at for a while. It's not quite what I want. Actually, no. What I want is a Queen of Pentacles with a MIDI input. I want like a 5 or 6 drum sound thing that's very performable with a MIDI in, so that I don't have to invest in like a MIDI to trigger module or like some shit like that to make it all work. Like, who wants to plug in, 5 trigger cables?
Yeah.
Like, I don't.
This does the job pretty well.
Yeah, but it's 5 cables minimum for just the triggers. Like, I hate that. Versus like if you.
But then get it. You just use your drum brute impact then, or something like that, right?
Well, the Rample. The Rample is like a really good example of a Eurorack module that it has trigger ins for those of folks that want a million cables, but also has a MIDI in. Like, it's one little DIN cable is all I'm asking.
Yeah.
And
But at this point, you're basically just taking a drum machine and just mounting it inside a case.
Yes.
And then
Because
using
then
it
it's
as
closer.
I
I don't want to bring this. I want to bring like a little tiny drum machine. I guess I could see how far I can get with like this little buddy, but I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, I don't think anybody has any questions.
I'm enjoying your uncomfortable silence.
I wanted to see who would talk first. Yeah, so I'm gonna call it. I don't have any better sequence than what I played earlier. Like, I did nothing. So here's some really probably copyrighted music. Like even that sound sounds like it's copyrighted, right? Like like hold on. I don't know. I did it wrong, but like it sounds like something I've heard like a million times. And it's funny because I made that Micro Freak patch when I was on the road, and I thought it was so cool. But those are like the only 8 notes that sound good in the whole patch. Like anything higher sounds terrible, anything lower sounds terrible. So like it can only do copyrighted music. Like it's terrible.
Have you ever had a
yeah.
strike?
I have never had a strike on my channel. I think I did on EMS once. I feel like I probably did. I just can't remember what I was doing. It wasn't the Star Wars one. That one I actually did not get a copyright strike. It was something else. It was something that like wasn't it wasn't playing a sample of anything. I don't remember what happened. It just yeah. So.
I've had one for my own music.
Yeah, I mean that's when you know you've made it.
Well, I mean, it was ludicrous. It was this track that I had written years ago, and for like a compilation thing or a collaboration thing with some other artist, and he was on some label that then pushed it to distributors and blah blah blah. And then I uploaded it like years later to my own channel, like just a clip. It was like 10 seconds or something, and they said this is owned by whoever. And I was like, I wrote this. And it doesn't give you. It didn't at that point give you away some counter notification. So I did it through the DMCA procedure, and YouTube said no, like they've got the rights to this. I was like, but so then I was emailing the record company going, I'm going to withdraw your rights to use this if you don't like fix this. And I never got a reply, but one day it was like, oh, we've resolved this, and now it's it's an interesting.
Yeah.
You got a
And
strike
the worst
from
bit was
yeah.
they were all defunct. Like I emailed the guy like who I'd done this with, and he was like, oh, I don't know, the distributor, the label wasn't around anymore or something, but the distributor was still collecting the royalties, so it was
Shit.
interesting.
I would
Fun.
probably just, if it was possible, withdraw the permissions at that point. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm never gonna sign to anything. Sell it.
No,
like,
no.
Bandcamp is like it because I don't think they take down things with copyright. You know.
I haven't checked from my old band. We did one thing, and for a couple of years I got like $1 every year, or like $2 or something like that. And I think after the first like 7 years, I made half of just the stuff I had to put down in order to just get the stuff out.
So far on Bandcamp, I've only earned 1 potentiometer. That's my it.
The thing
So-
about Bandcamp is that if people buy digital music, it screws you because you barely get anything. So you get a sale and you're like, oh yes, and then it's like, oh, I made 0 money. But if you only sell physical things, they never take a cut because they add it onto your digital whatever.
Oh,
It's the
interesting.
weirdest. And Etsy, fuck Etsy. I probably shouldn't say that because I know some of them, but fuck them. Because I set up I was making custom dyed caps for the M8 because you couldn't buy them in Europe.
Yeah.
And the company in America that was dyeing them wouldn't ship to the UK, and they gave me some weird reasoning behind it, which I still think is nonsense. But they do ship to the now, but they charge you £45 for postage. I was like,
Shit.
right. So I've been dyeing my own and selling them, and I did it on Etsy. And first of all, my account gets suspended without any notice. And I couldn't log in, but I had all these orders, so I couldn't refund them or anything either. So
Oh, wow.
I had to pull strings to get a response. And then they place a reserve on your account so that if you make any sales, it takes 45 days for the money to come through. So you're like, well, what the fuck am I meant to do? And then at the end of it, it turned out that they were taking they say they take 5% commission, but that's 5% of the total, including postage, and then they charge you 20 cents per listing, which is really 20 cents per sale, so that's like more. Then they auto renew it every time you sell, which costs something else. They charge you a fee for using their payment processor, which you have to use. Then they charge you VAT on their fee. So because they've taken the fee, you then have to pay them VAT, like for the sale of the services. So it works out at like 20 something percent. And then they've just put up their fee. So now it's going to be 6.5%. And you're like, what the fuck? No, so they're dead to me.
Okay.
That's the long and short of
Reasonable.
that.
Yeah.
No. So never use Etsy.
No, I wouldn't. But yeah.
But then
It's
you
so
wonder,
weird
like,
you got-
people like
yeah.
Dig Dug DIY who sells, you know, their interesting devices on there, and you're like, oh, they're really nice, but they can be a wee bit pricey. And then you look and realize, oh, it's because they're paying 20% effectively to Etsy for the pleasure.
But shouldn't you just?
Right.
I mean, if you find something cool on Etsy, you should just figure out who the seller is and send them an email directly.
Yeah.
It's like when you
But if they're-
see a hotel on Hotels.com or something like that, and you know that's going to be more expensive for them if you book it through them. You just contact them directly and get a better
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
I-
Even if you pay like 10% less, then it's still they're going to make an extra 10%.
Exactly.
Yep. Well, on that note, I'm gonna play some generic music.
Cool. Do it.
At 81 BPM. Let's crank that up a little bit. Let's find the perfect dance BPM. I need some more swing, but whatever. Oh, I should also disable like all the audio, noise suppression, echo cancellation. All right, thanks everybody for this week's What the Heck. It's kind of low key.
Thanks.
We mostly just whinged a bunch about broken stuff or wasting money, time, selling stuff.